Hey guys! Today we are talking about lesson 9.6. We are talking about adding fractional parts of 10 and 100. This is on, today I'm looking right now at page 527. And then there is one part of this lesson that I am going to skip, and it is the part where we are supposed to change our decimals into fractions, add them, and then convert them back to decimals. And instead of that, I'm going to go ahead and just show you how to add decimals as decimals. So bear with me here for a little bit. First, we are going to talk about adding fractions. We know from the work that we've done previously that our fractions have to have a common denominator when we are adding them together. So we could not just add 3/10 and 21/100 without changing the denominator. Now I will tell you, it is going to be the easiest to just go ahead and change the fraction that has a 10 in the denominator to its equivalent fraction with 100 as its denominator. So let's go ahead and look at how to do this. We can leave 21/100 alone because it already has the denominator we are looking for in our other fraction, 3/10 being switched over into having a denominator of 100. So, same work we were doing yesterday on our homework. We've got 3/10. We're switching it over to having a denominator of 100. So I would take 10 times something to equal 100, and that would be 10. Okay, and if I did it in my denominator, I also must do it in my numerator. I've got 3 times 10, and that would equal 30. Okay, so we've got 30/100, and so now that is the equivalent fraction to 3/10. Now I can add. They both have the same denominator. So I've got 30/100 plus 21/100. So when we add, we know that we do not add across the denominator. The denominator stays the same. So all we have to do now is add 30 plus 21. So, simple enough. If you are not able to do that in your head, you may go ahead and write 30 plus 21 off to the side, get your answer, and write it into that spot. So, our answer should be, we've got a 1 here, a 5 here, a 51. Be careful. Make sure that you add, not multiply. Sometimes we get ourselves tricked up just a little bit. So 51/100, and there's your answer. That's all there is to it. You find your equivalent fractions just like we did when we were doing our unit on adding fractions. So let's look down here. We've got 4/100 plus 1/10. These are not the same number, 10 and 100. So we're going to have to change that 1/10 to having a denominator of 100. Again, when I'm going from 10 to 100, I'm multiplying 10 times 10. If I do it in the denominator, I also must do it in the numerator. 1 times 10 gives me 10. Any number times 1 is itself. So now I have 10/100. So I'm adding 10/100 to my 4/100 from the original problem up there. And 10 plus 4, if you can't do it in your head, write it off to the side. 10 plus 4. And you end up with 14. Again, make sure that you're adding, not accidentally multiplying. And there's your answer right there. So that part should not be too different from things that we've already talked about in the past. Now, I'm going to move over to our next page. And I'm going to skip some of these fraction ones up here. And I'm going to look at number 4. Whereas 16 cents plus 45 cents. And what this chapter wants us to do, if you look over at the page before, it's telling you to change the decimal value into a fractional value, add the fractions, and then convert it back into a decimal. And I think that you can go ahead and add these decimals together without going through all of those conversions. Now what you'll need to do is every single time write it vertically. So I'm going to go ahead and write my addition symbol right here. Now, the very first thing I'm going to do is line up my decimals. I'm going to have decimals. When I'm adding decimals, I make sure that they are all lined up. And then I will fill in my digits. This right over here to the left of the decimal will be my whole numbers. And I see on both of them that I've got a 0 there. I'm going to use this number first because it was given to me first. Okay, I've got 16 cents, so I'm going to put 0.16 right there. I've got 0.45. Okay, and so now I can just add. My decimals are lined up. That's the only difference between adding with decimals and adding with whole numbers, is that we need to make sure our decimals are lined up because it helps us line up our place values. So let's look at this. 6 plus 5, we've got 11. Now we're just going to go ahead and add just like we normally would. 4 plus 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6. And then we have 0 plus 0 is 0. So our answer is 61 cents. Okay, not too terribly bad. Let's look over here. 8 cents plus 88 cents. I'm going to draw set myself up here, my addition symbol. Very first thing, I'm going to draw my decimals and line them up. Come on. Whew. All right, so now I can fill in my numbers. I'm going to do just the first one first, simply because it was there first. 0.08 and then 0.88. It's important that you guys give yourselves enough space to do these problems so that you can line them up really nicely. So I shouldn't see on your homework a lot of curved problems. You should be able to write them straight up and down so that you can see that the place values are truly lined up. These 2 8s right here are in the hundredths place value. This 0 and this 8 right here are in the tenths, and these zeros are in the ones. They should line up exactly with their place values. So we've got 8 plus 8. We can just go ahead and add like normal. Our decimal is already there, so 8 plus 8 is 16. 8 plus 0 is 8 plus 1 is 9. And then 0 plus 0 is 0. So we have 96 cents now. Okay. Now, in the case that you accidentally multiply instead of add, you can go back and check. Is 8 cents more than 88 cents, 96 cents? Would that make sense right there? And if it does, then you're good to go. But if you accidentally multiplied, you'll notice that your answer is way off. It wouldn't be reasonable. So make sure you're taking a little bit of time to stop and double check and make sure that your answer is reasonable. These ones down here, 6 tenths and 25 hundredths, just make sure that you're paying close attention. And I would go ahead and switch those tenth values over to having a fractional value or a denominator value of 100. So other than that, I think you guys are good to go. If you've got questions, let me know. On your homework, you'll just need to do numbers 2 through 6. Have a good day.